Very good evening, you're watching Primetime News on TV1. Bringing you the news this evening, I am Stephen Machado.
And I'm Shalini Ratnavira. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Serious revelation over prison meeting with Pillayan over Easter Sunday attack. Walk for Peace in the Island of Peace reaches Kandy amid massive public support. Formal investigation launched into $2.5 million cyber theft from Finance Ministry. Iran and United States seize multiple commercial vessels, disrupting global supply chains.
On to your top story tonight. The Easter Sunday terror attacks of the 21st of April 2019, which claimed the lives of 278 innocent people and left nearly 500 others permanently disabled, are now seeing the gradual exposure of several long-hidden secrets.
These revelations are emerging through facts placed before the 4th Magistrates Court by the Criminal Investigation Department.
Innocent men, women and children who had gone to pray on Easter Sunday, unarmed civilians spending a peaceful morning at 3 luxury hotels in Colombo. Some of them were having breakfast. For what purpose were 278 people killed in a single moment? Who wanted this crime to be carried out? A question that has remained unanswered for 7 years. Several cases related to the attacks are now being heard in court. Among them, a case connected to a decisive stage of investigations is currently being heard at the 4th Magistrates Court. The case concerns 3 suspects: former Director of State Intelligence, retired Major General Suresh Saleh, Yasin Bawa Jegilpas, and Sarat Samantha. In connection with the case, the Criminal Investigation Department submitted yet another investigation report to court yesterday. This report has revealed an extremely serious disclosure. Do you remember the Channel 4 report related to the Easter Sunday attacks? That report alleged that former Chief Minister and former State Minister Sivanesature Chandrakanthan, also known as Pillayan, was behind the Easter Sunday attacks based on claims made by his former personal secretary Azad Maulana. According to the investigation progress report submitted to court yesterday by the Criminal Investigation Department, further information has now emerged regarding Pillayan. Pillayan has been held at the Batticaloa prison from the 3rd of January 2015 until 2021. He was detained in connection with charges related to the assassination of former parliamentarian Joseph Pararajasingham. The Criminal Investigation Department informed court yesterday of revelations that emerged through testimony given by an individual who had been imprisoned alongside Pillayan. According to these revelations, a person named Professor Rohan Gunaratna had visited and met Pillayan on 3 occasions. The Criminal Investigation Department further revealed that 2 women had accompanied Professor Rohan Gunaratna during these visits to meet Pillayan. One of these women was later recruited into the Sri Lanka Army with the rank of Major, according to CID disclosures. Following the Easter Sunday attacks, Professor Rohan Gunaratna also published a book titled Sri Lanka's Easter Sunday Massacre. He consistently maintained the position that the Islamic State was behind the Easter Sunday attacks. Meanwhile, investigation reports further revealed that Zaharan Hashim's brother, Zaini Maulavi, a member of the National Tawheed Jamaat, along with another individual named Milhan, were brought by Pillayan to the same prison ward where he was detained. The witness stated that whenever he approached the place where the 3 were engaged in conversation, they would change the topic. Pillayan was recently arrested again by the Criminal Investigation Department and is currently being held in remand custody after Channel 4 aired revelations by Pillayan's former personal secretary Azad Maulana, alleging that Pillayan was behind the Easter Sunday attacks. Pillayan himself went on to publish a book addressing the Easter Sunday attacks. As investigations and judicial proceedings continue through an extremely complex process, further grave revelations are expected to emerge in the days ahead. Newsfirst made an inquiry from Professor Rohan Gunaratne regarding this matter. He stated that this should be studied and analysed before responding.
The world is at war, and there's so much uncertainty out there. But there's a spark of peace that's growing here in Sri Lanka, and it's capturing the attention of the world. The walk for peace in the island of peace continued its second day today.
Walk for peace in the island of peace, Sri Lanka.
The Venerable Panyakrathera led his delegation of venerable monks and were also accompanied by the world-famous Aloka.
Lokaya inna, come over. Maitriya pata inna, lokaya ge nivena sit pata inna. Inna balanna me senasuma.
Throngs of people gathered along both sides of the route as the walk moved forward through rural and urban areas. En route, the delegation stopped over at the Muttumari Amman Kovil in Matale. The delegation continued their journey, passing the Sri Vidyashekara Pirivena Moola Mahaviharya in Matale.
Demi kebahagiaan semua makhluk.
A midday almsgiving was offered to the members of the Mahasangha today at the Akurana Grand Mosque. The almsgiving was sponsored by Eslon Lanka, led by S.C. Veerasekara, the Group Director and the Chief Operating Officer of the Capital Maharaja Group. Venerable Panyakrathera reciprocated this love and respect and often took time to connect with the crowds of devotees gathered along the way.
Walk for the many, walk for the light, to heal the world and end the night. Come, whole world, for the joy of all. The spirit of peace is standing tall. Sabke hit ke liye karuna ki pukar, maitri ke marg par sara sansar. Aao duniya.
Midday meals were offered today at the Akurana Grand Mosque. The Walk for Peace, which will continue into its third day tomorrow, has brought the attention of the world to Sri Lanka for the devotion shown to the venerable delegates. You can follow their journey on all our Newsfirst and Sirasa social media platforms. The delegation, along with the now a celebrity companion dog Aloka, is expected to reach Colombo on the 28th of April. Passing through several towns, including Akurana and via Katugastota, Venerable Panyakrathera of Vietnam, together with the Mahasangha and the certified service dog Aloka, arrived in the historic city of Kandy after covering a distance of 28 kilometers.
Lokaya inna come over Maitriya patayin Lokayage nivenasit patayin Lokanukampava patayin
In Kandy, a large gathering of devotees came together to respectfully receive Venerable Panyakrathera and the Mahasangha.
Datang la dunia, lihatlah kedamaian ini, ketenangan hati, damai yang abadi.
Demi kebahagiaan semua makhluk.
Thereafter, the Mahasangha participated in a brief program held at the Chandananda Buddhist College in Kandy.
Walk for the many, walk for the light, to heal the world and end the night. Come, O world, for the joy of all. The spirit of peace is standing tall.
Global Walk for Peace in the Island of Peace, Sri Lanka.
The members of the Mahasangha who are travelling on the Walk of Peace in the Island of Peace paid homage at the historic Malvadu and Askiri temples in Kandy this evening.
අමාරු වෙලා ගොඩක් අයට අමාරු වෙලා හිතා ගන්න කියලා. ඉතින් මම බෑ දකින්න වෙන්න ඕනේ කියලා දැන් ආවා. Last year we came on time. මේ තියෙන දේශගුණයත් එක්ක ටිකක් අමාරුයි. උඩයට යනවනේ. අපි දේශගුණයත් එක්ක නායකයන් ටිකක් අමාරුයි.
Across a new bridge, the path to the future opens for 1,000 children. Gammata, for the people, by the people.
Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, Dr. Harshanusera Perma, says that a formal investigation and legal process are underway in connection to an incident in which a group of cybercriminals stole approximately $2.5 million on several occasions by gaining access to the computer system of the External Resources Department of the Ministry of Finance. Speaking at a media briefing held today, the Secretary stated that all necessary and appropriate measures have been taken in connection with the cyber theft that occurred in January this year.
What is this theft?
විදේශ සම්පත් දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවට යම් කිසි ආකාරයක සයිබර් හැකර්ස්ලා සම්බන්ධ වෙලා ඇතුළු වෙන්නට උත්සාහ කරලා
In January 2026, we came to know that a group of cyber hackers had attempted to access the Department of External Resources in some way and tried to compromise the system. They intervened in emails related to debt transactions between the government with Australia, a party whose debt has been restructured. They altered the relevant information, and through this, these cyber hackers who entered the system had managed to fraudulently divert nearly $2.5 million that was due to be paid. Although the government of Sri Lanka had paid the money according to existing procedures, Instead of that money reaching the creditors on the other side, this criminal group that came in between managed to take this amount of money into other accounts. This transaction took place in the latter part of the year 2025. This problem emerged and continued for a period of time thereafter, during the period when the Ministry of Finance, the PDMO, and the Central Bank of Sri Lanka were jointly carrying out operations.
අගභාගයේ මුදල් අමාත්‍යාංශය සහ PDMO නැත්නම් රාජ්‍ය ණය කළමනා කරන කාර්යාලය සහ ශ්‍රී ලංකා මහා බැංකුව jointly operation එක කරගෙන යන කාලයේ තමයි මේ ගැටලුව මතුවලා තියෙන්නේ සහ ඒක continue වෙලා තියෙනවා ඊට පසුවත් යම්කිසි කාල සීමාවක් තුල.
What action was taken after the theft by the cyber criminals was discovered?
මේ පිළිබඳව
as soon as information regarding this was received, we came forward again and informed the police. Not only the CID, but when it comes to financial crimes of this nature, especially those involving transactions between countries, we also informed the FIU, or the Financial Intelligence Unit of the Central Bank. A complaint of this nature was made. The committee, consisting of 2 deputy secretaries to the Treasury, comprising the highest officials of the Ministry of Finance, was appointed by the ministry to further investigate the details and look into what necessary work needs to be done next, whether according to the Establishment Code or financial regulations, and a committee was appointed to look into what the required actions are. Based on the information reported by that committee, disciplinary action has already been taken against officials.
වාර්තා කරන ලද තොරතුරු පදනම් කරගෙන මේ වෙනකොටත් විනය ක්‍රියාමාර්ග නිලධාරීන්ට එරෙහිව අරගෙන තියෙනවා.
Why was the theft not made public earlier?
මේකේ තොරතුරු අනවශ්‍ය විදියට එළියට ගියොත් මේ අපරාධකරුවන් සැඟවෙන්නට පුළුවන්. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ
If information about this goes out unnecessarily, these criminals might go into hiding. They could remove or change their traces, tracks, and the methodologies used for this. They could leave their locations. Therefore, while maintaining confidentiality, those activities were carried out by coordinating with law enforcement agencies. Necessary coordination was also provided to the relevant law enforcement agencies in foreign countries involved. Not only that, as the other party aggrieved by this, the party that should have received the money, we informed the Australian Embassy at a diplomatic level. This particular transaction exists as part of the debt restructuring with one country or institution. You know that billions of dollars in debt have been successfully restructured by now and finalized. Repayments have also commenced. Accordingly, even the relevant institution has been properly informed. Because according to the agreements, we need to inform them about this and discuss future actions properly.
What happens next?
අපි debt restructuring වලට එහෙම නැත්නම් ණය ප්‍රතිව්‍යුහගතකරණය කිරීම සඳහා උපදේශකවරුන්.
As a government, we have appointed both technical and legal advisors for the debt restructuring process. We informed the relevant parties and discussed whether this situation could in any way be interpreted as a debt default or construed as such from a technical perspective. Based on the advice we received, Sri Lanka has clearly demonstrated its capacity to repay its debts by making the required payments on time. Through these payments, Sri Lanka has also demonstrated its intention and willingness to honor its debt obligations. However, criminal actors intervened in the process and unlawfully diverted funds elsewhere instead of allowing the money to reach the intended recipient. In this situation, the intention to repay existed, the action to repay was carried out, and the willingness to meet obligations was evident as confirmed by the advice provided by our advisors. In addition, the affected institution on the other side was informed immediately upon the issue being identified, and we have acted in good faith by maintaining ongoing discussions and exchanges with them. Through these continued discussions, we have communicated Sri Lanka's commitment as a country to honor its debt obligations and to proceed transparently with the repayment process.
ණය ගෙවීමට අපි ඉදිරිපත් වීම පිළිබඳව දැනුවත් කරලා ඒ සාකච්ඡා සහ අදහස් වමාරු කිරීම කරගෙන යනවා.
National organizer of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Namal Rajapaksa, offered his interpretation of the incident in which cybercriminals stole $2.5 million.
The money has gone on from the account of Sri Lanka's Ministry of Finance and not from anywhere else. Therefore, the President, in his capacity as Finance Minister, the Secretary or the responsible officials must be held accountable. As soon as this government came into power, they appointed officials who are loyal to their party and to themselves. The final result is not only the collapse of the entire state machinery, but also a situation where government funds can be transferred into accounts of their own choosing.
A day after making these remarks, Namal Rajapaksa appeared before the Colombo High Court today as a suspect in the controversial Krish transaction. The Attorney General filed indictments against Namal Rajapaksa before the Colombo High Court on the 5th of February last year, accusing him of criminal breach of trust by obtaining 70 million rupees from the Indian-based Krish company, claiming the funds were meant to promote rugby in Sri Lanka. On a previous occasion, Namal Rajapaksa was arrested as a suspect in the case and produced before the Fort Magistrates Court. He is currently out on bail. The Colombo High Court fixed 29th of May as the next date for the hearing. The Australian High Commission and Sri Lanka's Ministry of Finance have confirmed that irregularities were detected in payments owed to the Australian government. The High Commission posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, that Sri Lankan authorities are currently investigating the matter and are working in coordination with Australian officials who are assisting with the investigation. The statement noted that Australia has reiterated that it remains committed to supporting Sri Lanka's return to debt sustainability as the inquiries continue.
As the Ministry of Finance and the Australian High Commission continue to clarify the facts surrounding the cyber theft of $2.5 million, the opposition has repeatedly raised various allegations regarding the incident. While an organisation known as Dinana Dakuna, led by former Governor Maitri Gunaratne, has been making accusations since yesterday, another group describing itself as the People's United Opposition held a media briefing today. Former Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna Chairman Professor G.L. Piris, former Minister Partli Champika Ranavaka representing the United Republic Front, former Minister Mahinda Amaravira from the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, and Ajith Mana Peruma of the United National Party participated in the media briefing. However, the Samagi Jana Balavegya, led by Sajith Premadasa and recognized as the country's main opposition party, did not take part in the media briefing held under the banner of Janathavadi Ekabadda Vipakshaya, loosely translated as the People's United Opposition. It was also revealed that prior to the media briefing held at former President Ranil Wickremesinghe's Flower Road office in Colombo, Professor G.L. Piris had received advice from Sugishwara Bandara, the former personal secretary of Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
This is a daylight robbery of public funds belonging to the people of this country. The most serious consequence of this is the erosion of public trust in the banking system. That is extremely harmful to the economy. Once public confidence in the banking system is damaged, there is no greater harm that can be done to our economy. If this appears to be a robbery, then it must be discussed and action must be taken. At the time, the finance minister was removed. He was removed without waiting for a no-confidence motion. They sought power promising to clean everything up, to create a complete transformation, to expose corruption and fraud, and to confine those crimes to the past. So, what are those who came into power promising all that doing today? The difference between what was promised then and what is being done now is like the difference between the earth and sky.
What then is being claimed by a so-called people's opposition that convenes a media briefing without the country's main opposition party? Do you remember how, during the 2015 central bank bond scam, sensitive internal information was passed by the father-in-law to the son-in-law in order to benefit a select few? Do you remember how the Employees Provident Fund, a fund meant to secure the retirement of the country's working people, suffered losses exceeding 8 billion rupees in a matter of seconds? At today's value, that loss is approximately $25 million. Do you remember the group that gathered over morning tea to discuss the bond auction? Do you remember who changed the method of issuing bonds? Do you remember who said that the main suspect in the bond scam had gone abroad for a wedding and would return shortly? Do you remember who ultimately buried the findings by adding footnotes to the COPE report? Then, Do you remember the sudden ban on agricultural chemicals and the importation of a shipment of so-called organic fertilizer from China? That fertilizer ship, imported between September 2021 and January 2022, was ultimately sent back without unloading a single granule, despite a payment of $6.9 million. The $5 million performance bond was also eventually refunded. And the public has not forgotten that Professor G.L. Pires served as the chairman of the ruling party at that time. Do you remember how $98 million was paid during the Yahapalaniya government to suspend a deal to purchase 10 Airbus aircraft for Sri Lankan Airlines? There is more. Do you remember how in February 2022, with reserves at their lowest point and despite warnings from every knowledgeable individual, $500 million was paid to settle a sovereign bond? The ultimate outcome was the country being declared bankrupt. At the time, some individuals who are now in the opposition claimed that the bond repayment was carried out to benefit a select few. There are many more such incidents. The people of this country are intelligent enough to understand these matters through comparison.
US President Donald Trump says he has ordered the US Navy to shoot at any boat laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said he ordered the United States Navy to shoot and kill any boat, small boats though they may be, that is putting mines in the waters of the Strait of Hormuz.
Iranian Navy has confirmed the seizure of 2 cargo ships in the Strait of Hormuz, which were later taken to the country's coast after firing on them and another vessel. Its first seizure since its war with the United States and Israel began in February. Iran's semi-official Tasnim news agency reported the seizures, adding that its Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy had warned that any disruption to order and safety in the strait would be considered a red line. Noor News, affiliated with Iran's Supreme National Security Council, said the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or the IRGC, opened fire on the first ship, which it called the Epaminondas, after it had ignored the warnings of the Iranian armed forces. A second ship, named Euphoria, was then stopped after being fired upon, followed by the targeting of a third vessel, the MSC Francesca. IRGC-affiliated outlet Fast News Agency said the Revolutionary Guard was behind the attacks. Epaminondas' vessel, the Greek-operated Epaminondas, had reported being fired upon about 20 nautical miles northwest of Oman. It said it had sustained damage to its bridge after being hit by gunfire and rocket-propelled grenades from an IRGC gunboat. The ship was likely headed to Bandar Abbas. MSC Francesca was hit by gunfire about 8 nautical miles west of Iran, but according to the UK MTO and the sources, it was not damaged and its crew was safe. Euphoria. According to Reuters, a third Liberia-flagged container ship, Euphoria, was fired upon in the same area but was not damaged and resumed sailing, later reaching Fujairah in the United Arab Emirates. Earlier today, US forces interdicted a sanctioned vessel that is transporting oil from Iran. US forces carried out a maritime interdiction and right of visit boarding of the sanctioned stateless vessel MT Majestic X transporting oil from Iran in the Indian Ocean. The department says the US military will continue to interdict vessels suspected of providing material support to Iran. A maritime interdiction refers to the interception or inspection of a vessel by a navy on ships suspected to be hostile or in violation of the law. The US has intercepted dozens of vessels since it began its blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. It is not intercepting these ships near Iran, but further away in the Indian Ocean. According to shipping and security sources, US forces diverted at least 3 Iranian tankers operating near India, Malaysia and Sri Lanka. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has called the blockade one of the main obstacles to genuine negotiations with the US. Oil prices gained today after reports of 3 vessels being attacked in the Strait of Hormuz by Iranian forces. Brent, the global benchmark for crude, is hovering around $103 a barrel, while US traded oil climbed above $94. Prices have climbed since US President Donald Trump announced a ceasefire extension on Tuesday to give Iran more time to make a deal. Preparations for peace talks continue in Pakistan, but there is yet to receive the confirmation of delegations from either the US or Iran attending. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said Tehran remains open to discussions, but added that the US breach of commitments, blockade and threats are main obstacles to genuine negotiations. US Vice President J.D. Vance, who is expected to lead the US delegation, remains in the US. Meanwhile, US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has fired Navy Secretary John Phelan. The Pentagon said Phelan would leave office immediately. Although the Pentagon gave no official reason for the dismissal, reports indicate the decision was linked to internal disputes, including tensions with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Meanwhile, United Nations Office for Project Services Chief has called for an urgent mechanism to safeguard fertilizer supplies, cautioning that disruption to the Strait of Hormuz could push 45 million people into hunger.
We know that the entire fertilizer supply chain is disrupted. It's not only the fertilizer production in that region, but also the production elsewhere due to the lack of raw materials. As I mentioned, urea, ammonia, sulfur, but also LPG and LNG. So today you have a massive disruption of the entire supply chain of fertilizers, and as we know, fertilizers are key for the productivity of agriculture. The disruption of the Strait of Hormuz can push 45 million more people into hunger and starvation. So clearly we need to do something. And that's why it's so important that the UN is ready through this mechanism.
Meanwhile, a temporary ceasefire remains in place between Lebanon and Israel, with more talks expected today. But Israel has kept troops on the ground in southern Lebanon, with about 5% of Lebanese land now under Israeli occupation. Hezbollah has warned that the truce depends on a comprehensive halt to attacks across all Lebanese territory. However, there are still reports of attacks from both sides.
A special 3-day retrospective titled The Art and Life of Jayantha Premachandra will open its doors and dive into the extraordinary legacy of Jayantha Premachandra, a celebrated artist, author and journalist.
The 3-day event, titled The Art and Life of Jayantha Premachandra, explores the artist's unique position as a bridge between Sri Lankan cultural memory and European modernist movements. Premachandra's work is noted for its critical engagement with post-colonial identity and modernity. Having spent a significant portion of his career in Europe, his art reflects the tension between tradition and the rapid transformation of a newly independent Sri Lanka.
So this event is a collaboration between the Jayantha Premachandra Foundation and the ITC Ratnadeepa to exhibit Jayantha Premachandra's works in a different way, and also with several workshops and discussions organized right throughout the week for about 3 days, where we have some experts coming, to do some talks about his art, but also about, generally about the art and culture in Sri Lanka as well. Of course, the artist Jayantha Premachandra is also connected to these activities, and we have a bit of a new collection for the people to come and see. Especially the young generation should come and see, because this is an artist who passed away more than 38 years ago, 1988. So I think it's a good experience for the young artist to come and see his works.
His work reached audiences across Europe, the United Kingdom, Scandinavia, the former USSR, the Middle East and Asia, placing Sri Lankan art within an international context through 45 solo exhibitions from the 1950s to the 1980s.
Jayantha Premachandra has been a cultural bridge between Sri Lanka and France. He has worked during a part of his life in Paris and took inspiration to French artists, but also Western European artists, and with success he had blended these influences in his own Sri Lankan culture. So as a French ambassador, I want really to pay tribute to the work of Jayantha Premachandra and also the tremendous work made by the Premachandra Foundation. And we really hope that the new generation in Sri Lanka will discover and cherish his work.
This exhibition reflects Premachandra's deeply humanistic vision and expressing visual language, capturing everyday life in Sri Lanka while engaging with broader themes of humanity, compassion and freedom.
I think this is something that is so unique, especially in terms of formation of art and various cultures, that he has done a lot of work which was hidden probably, but the foundation has brought it up, and especially the renowned art pieces and the work that Mr. Premachandra has done both in Europe and Sri Lanka. And now this is a place where that it's been displayed. We feel that this is a great opportunity. People who celebrate art, who like to learn from art, to come and see and engage in various forms of art. In his lifetime, he's been able to translate the culture and art and the transformation of art into various masterpieces.
The exhibition is supported by the Jayantha Premachandra Foundation, which was established in 2022 to safeguard his cultural heritage and empower contemporary artists.
I think it was discussed many times today about how Jayantha Premachandra as an artist kept transforming and morphing and also dealing with his own identity and his own journey. And I think it's a very special kind of way in which we also want to reflect on art in Sri Lanka, but also art globally. And I'm very glad that the foundation has taken such a huge leap in being able to facilitate and to be able to showcase his work to all Sri Lankans, and we're very glad to be here.
The 3-day retrospective will take place from the 23rd to the 25th of April 2026. Alongside the exhibition, a curated program of discussions and workshops will offer deeper insight into the artist's life, techniques and enduring influence.
Jayantha Premachandra didn't just paint. He captured the soul of a nation in transition. By blending Sri Lankan memory and European modernism, he proved that Sri Lankan heritage has a permanent seat at the global table. This initiative, this retrospective and the work of his foundation opens that very same bridge to the next generation of young Sri Lankan artists. This isn't just about seeing a master and his work. This is about empowering the next generation of Sri Lankan artists to break their own boundaries and take our culture to the global stage. The exhibition will kick off starting from the 23rd and will continue on till the 25th. It is open to the public here at ITC Ratnadeepa. Reporting to you from the venue, I'm Mahimi Amrakon for the Newsfirst team.
A press conference headed by Sri Lanka's newly appointed head coach Gary Kirsten was held at the Sri Lanka Cricket headquarters today.
The press conference was headed by Sri Lanka Cricket CEO Ashley De Silva, High Performance Centre Director Jerome Jairatna and the Sri Lanka Cricket Head Coach Gary Kirsten.
In world cricket, that would absolutely be my priority and certainly something that we would work towards. I think importantly for Sri Lankan cricket, someone mentioned where they sit in the rankings at the moment across the different formats. I would certainly, I'm sure everyone that's a stakeholder in Sri Lankan cricket would like to see the team at the top of the pile. So for me, my priority is to work out what is required for that to happen, because I don't see any shortage of talent and depth in Sri Lankan cricket. Certainly in the time that I've been here, I think there's a lot of good players around. So it kind of doesn't match up that the rankings are where they are, but we'll head in the right direction. With good players, you can do a lot. So I'm excited by that journey.
This was Sri Lanka Cricket CEO Ashley De Silva's response to a question raised by a journalist.
Has there been any truth to yesterday's media reports circulating online as well and print media that the government has asked the EXCO to step down and that President Shammi Silva has been singled out particularly?
We have also seen some reports in the media, but we have not been notified of anything, and we are not aware of anything of that nature.
And with that, we wrap up Prime Time News for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.